Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this year's edition of our Black History Month mini book buzz. Tonight I'm joined by Chermaine Burleson, our head of cataloging and technical services. She's going to be going over adult fiction books. Meg Miller, our other adult services librarian, will be going over adult graphic novels. And I'm Bette McDowell, and I will be covering adult nonfiction. So with that, I will hand it over to Chermaine. I will be joining you at the end, and stay tuned for instructions on how to enter our contest to win a gift card to Black Pearl Books.
Hey everybody, I am going to be doing another Black History Month Book Buzz adult fiction. So get ready for the 10 most read books by Black authors for 2025. So first we have Good Dirt by Chermaine Wilkinson. She tells the story of Ebby Freeman, a young Black woman from a wealthy New England family who is deeply affected by the traumatic events from her childhood when she witnesses her brother's murder and the shattering of a centuries-old family heirloom jar, a piece of pottery passed down from an enslaved ancestor. As Ebby grapples with the unsolved crime and her own personal turmoil, she embarks on a journey to uncover the history of the jar and her family's past, exploring themes of race, grief, and the lasting impact of generational trauma, all while navigating the scrutiny of the public eye due to her family's high profile in the community. Next, we have The Sable Cloak. In this posthumous novel, Gail Melissa Grant draws from her own family history to explore the themes of legacy, wealth, and violence through the lens of the generations of Black family in the Jim Crow South. Happy Land, the author draws on the inspiration from true events in this novel about a woman who travels home to North Carolina and learns of a kingdom in the mountains her family hailed from. Next, we have Miss V's Hot Girl Summer. So this mother of twins who are practically grown goes on a Caribbean carnival vacation, and she gives herself permission to let go of practicality and embrace the love she longed for in this sizzling romance. And he's a decade younger, so that's fun. Meet Me at the Crossroads. Humanity is mystified by the sudden appearance of doors that seem to lead to another world. The novel explores the potential of what doors could mean through twins, Anaya and Olivia, whose opinions couldn't be any more different about what's happening. Next, we have The King of Ashes. In this Godfather-inspired Southern crime epic, this novel follows the Carruthers family. The eldest son, Roman Carruthers, is summoned home after his father's car accident. He finds his younger brother, Dante, in debt to dangerous criminals and his sister, Nevia, exhausted from holding the family and the family business together. Roman begins his work for the criminals while Nevia tries to uncover the long ago mystery of what happened to their mother who disappeared when they were teenagers. But Roman is far less of a pushover than the gangsters realize. He's willing to do anything to save his family. Anything. Next, we have The Ghost of Gwendolyn Montgomery. When the barrier between the human world and the spirit world starts to weaken, a New York publicist with a gift for tapping into the realm of the dead must face the ghosts of her own past to save the future. Next, we have Fog and Fury. Sunny Rush expects her life to quiet down when she moves to Haven, California to work as a PI for her godfather. But what starts with hunting down missing dogs turns into a mystery she never saw coming. August Lane is about a Black country singer. The course of true love never did run smooth. In this romance, a country singer searching for his way back to the limelight reunites with a woman who knows a secret that could ruin him. His only hit was stolen from her. And finally, we have The Macabre. In Cossaco Jackson's horror debut, a painter takes inspiration from art his great-grandfather created over a century ago and unknowingly awakens a curse that must be destroyed. blending art history, time, and glow popping adventures. This is a dark horror and fantasy about 10 cursed paintings and the lengths people will go to collect them, destroy them, or to be destroyed by them. So there you have it. These are the top 10 for 2025. Of course, there are many, many more. Message me if you have any messages um, about or comments or concerns about the buzz, and just keep me posted on things you like and things you don't. Appreciate it. Bye.
Hello, this is Meg Miller, Adult Services Librarian for Pflugerville Public Library, with my portion of our Black History Month book buzz, the graphic novels and manga. And to start out, a few backlist titles. We've got Sirens of the City from Boom Studios that came out in May of last year, a powerfully topical urban fantasy for fans of Grimm and Chroma. Runaway teen Layla struggles to survive on the mean streets of 1980s New York City, far from home. But now every supernatural creature from the darkest corners of the urban grime is after Layla and the fetus with great power she never wanted growing inside her. Being a siren also comes with its share of power, but Layla wouldn't dare let that go to waste. A mysterious villain known as the Rat King will use any means necessary to find out more about the boundless power Layla carries against her will. But will her power be enough to escape from his clutches and save her friends, the city, and even herself? Next up, Wesley Snipes' The Exiled, Volume 1 from Massive Publishing, came out in October of last year. Wesley Snipes, producer and star of the Blade franchise, presents his original series, The Exiled, a genre-bending sci-fi noir described as Seven meets Blade Runner. The Exiled follows hard-boiled detective Niles Roach Washington as he pursues a serial killer who is using mysterious ancient tools to rip the spines from his victims. When forces outside and within the police department attempt to discredit him for his theories, Roach's instincts keep him pushing forward. With enemies on all sides, Roach wades deeper into conspiracy and uncovers a secret 5,000 years in the making. And from Image Comics, Moon Man Volume 1 came out just in December. Superstar musician Scott Kid Cudi Mescudi makes his comics debut alongside Eisner Award-nominated co-writer Kyle Higgins and breakout artist Marco Luccati. Ramon is ready for a quiet life. Whatever went wrong on that failed moon mission, whatever happened in the missing minutes the cameras didn't capture, all he really wants is to settle down back home. But Ramon will soon discover that the accident left him changed. And as the eyes of the world turn to him, he'll discover his new powers, protect his family, and work out who to trust as he takes his first steps into becoming something more. I actually read this one. We have a copy already, and it is awesome. And also from Image Comics, we have Philadelphia Volume 6 in December. The forces of heaven and hell clash on the battleground that is Philly and weaves into the tapestry of a larger universe when Todd McFarlane and Eric Larson's greatest creations cross over into the pages of Philadelphia. Enter Spawn and Savage Dragon. Now Seesaw must face his greatest threat, and all the powers he gained and the magic he's learned will be put to the test as he faces off against comics' greatest anti-hero, Spawn. Meanwhile, our hero's ongoing fight for survival against Toussaint and his Haitian guards becomes even more desperate as Savage Dragon becomes involved in the battle for the soul of Philadelphia. The sold-out Eisner Award-nominated series continues from Rodney Barnes, the writer behind such hit shows as Marvel's Runaway and HBO's Winning Time, and Jason Sean Alexander, the artist who redefined Spawn. And this month from Drawn and Quarterly, we get Aya Face the Music. The young and restless of Yop City just can't seem to catch a break. Marguerite and Clement world-renowned and critically acclaimed series about 80s life in the Ivory Coast continues with Aya Face the Music. After getting thrown in jail for organizing a student housing protest, Aya must grapple with the aftermath of her decisions. Her friends don't have it much easier. Her classmate Cyprian has been unconscious since police violently broke up their demonstration, and his family can barely scrape together funds for treatment. Her dear friend Albert, last seen passing out at a dinner with his family, awakens in the countryside in the clutches of a healer his father has hired to pray his gay away. In France, Albert's ex-paramour, Inno, agrees to enter into a fake marriage with his friend Sabine with surprising results. And back in Abidjan, embattled starlet Bintu must find a way to capitalize on the public's newfound sympathy after her house is burned down by an angry mob. Translated by Abidjan-based writer and activist, this contemporary classic of Ivorian literature bridges the gap between the past and present, proving that no matter how much things may change, we change with them too. And next month, from Oni Press, we get Akugun, Brutalizer of Gods. In an age thought forgotten, when man, monster, and the divine all strode the earth, a lone warrior emerges to test the immortality of the cruel gods who would deal destruction with impunity. He is a one-man reckoning that stands in defiance of his divine masters with a sword in hand and a thirst for god blood. His name, Akugun the Brutalizer. In the tradition of Robert E. Howard's Conan the Barbarian and Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's Thor, rising stars Maria Ayodele and Dotunan Akande, the Iron-forged writer-artist team behind Marvel's I Am Iron Man and Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood, usher in a new epoch of African dark fantasy on the ancient continent of Alkebulan, with a mythic cycle of cosmic destiny and unrelenting warfare colliding man against God and blade against blade. Witness a rage-fueled tale of bloody vengeance as Akugun seeks to avenge the tragic loss of everything he held dear. All that stands in his way is the disgraced fallen god Ogun, who seeks to be restored to his former glory. And to close out for me this buzz, I've got a couple of retellings of some classics. First up, from Andrews and McNeil Publishing, we get The Curse of Monte Cristo in April. Journey to the beginnings of the bloody days of the Haitian Revolution with a classic tale of revenge and reclamation reimagined with a horror twist in The Curse of Monte Cristo. It's France, 1788. Edmond Dantes, a Haitian and of African descent and Parisian citizen, has been sentenced to a life of hell at Chateau d'If for treason against the ancient regime. Once a man of faith, Edmund believes he has been abandoned by God, and the only thing that keeps him going is his deep hatred of those who he believes have framed him. Faria, an older prisoner who becomes a mentor to Edmund, confesses, "I am not flesh of this realm. Your lust for revenge drew me here." Together, they escape the prison and return to Saint-Domingue, where the smell of rebellion is thick in the air. Edmund, once an enslaved man himself, thought he had escaped the colonized land and his past life for good, only to return as the wealthy and mysterious Count of Monte Cristo. In pursuit of his enemies, including Mercedes, once his fiancée, he finds his careful rage growing only more reckless and ravenous. Haiti, a young revolutionist, tries to use his fury for good, while Faria, drunk off the misery Edmund has caused, hungers for the fresh taste of innocent blood. As Edmund's enemies begin to catch up on the Count's true identity and the fight for liberation from the French colonists swells to a pop, Edmund must reckon with the deal he's made with Faria. Is it any more sinister or any different than the pact he's made with his own inner demons? And finally, from Abrams Comics Arts, at the end of April, we will get a graphic novel adaptation of The Parable of the Talents. This powerful graphic novel adaptation of Octavia E. Butler's groundbreaking dystopian novel stands beside the acclaimed previous graphic novel adaptations of Kindred and Parable of the Sower that both, first was a New York Times bestseller, the second won a Hugo Award. Octavia E. Butler's Parable of Talents is the continuation of the travels of Lauren Olami, brought to life by Damian Duffy and John Jennings. Parable of the Talents is told in the voice of Lauren Olami's daughter, Asha Vere, from whom she has been separated for most of the girl's life, interspersed with sections in the form of Lauren's own journals, and against a backdrop of war-torn continent under the control of a Christian fundamentalist fascist state. Asha searches for answers about her own past while struggling to reconcile with her mother's legacy. Caught between her duty to her chosen family and her calling to lead humankind into a better future among the stars. Octavia E. Butler's best-selling literary science fiction masterpieces are essential work in feminist, Afrofuturist, and fantasy genres, and this compelling graphic novel adaptation of Parable of the Talents is a major event. And that's all from me for this time. Thanks for listening. We look forward to the next book buzz.
So I'm going to be sharing some nonfiction books with you, and we're going to start out with Lovely One. With this unflinching account, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson invites readers into her life and world, tracing her family's ascent from segregation to her confirmation on America's highest court within the span of one generation. Named Ketanji Onyeka, meaning Lovely One, based on a suggestion from her aunt, a Peace Corps worker stationed in West Africa, Justice Jackson learned from her educator parents to take pride in her heritage since birth. She describes her resolve as a young girl to honor this legacy and realize her dreams. From hearing stories of her grandparents and parents breaking barriers in the segregated South, to honing her voice in high school as an oratory champion and student body president, to graduating magna cum laude from Harvard, where she performed in musical theater and improv and participated in pivotal student organizations. Here, Justice Jackson pulls back the curtain, marrying the public record of her life with what is less known. She reveals what it takes to advance in the legal profession when most people in power don't look like you, and to reconcile a demanding career with the joys and sacrifices of marriage and motherhood. Through trials and triumphs, Justice Jackson's journey will resonate with dreamers everywhere, especially those who nourish outsized ambitions and refuse to be turned aside. This moving, open-hearted tale will spread hope for a more just world for generations to come. And next we have High and Rising, a book about De La Soul. De La Soul burst onto the scene with the release of their groundbreaking 1989 album, 3 Feet High and Rising, an anything-goes hip-hop masterpiece hailed as a new masterwork from a bygone era of Black experimentation. Formed in Long Island in 1988, De La Soul rebuked classification and appealed to the Black alternative. Their music was positive and psychedelic, their imagery full of flowers and peace signs. It was wrapped with a broad sonic palette, which set the blueprint for an entire generation of artists who followed. But as quickly as De La Soul ascended, they were faced with the pressures of a changing industry and bitter legal battles. High and Rising tells the story of one of the most influential rap groups of all time. In the process, acclaimed music journalist Marcus J. Moore braids in a deeply personal coming-of-age story about his journey through life with De La as a backdrop. And coming out in January, we have The First and Last King of Haiti. Slave revolutionary king Henry Christophe was, in his time, popular and famous the world over. Born to an enslaved mother on the Caribbean island of Grenada, Christophe first fought to overthrow the British in North America before helping his fellow enslaved Africans in Saint-Domingue, as Haiti was then called, to end slavery. Yet in an incredible twist of fate, Christophe began fighting with Napoleon's forces against the formerly enslaved men and women he had once fought alongside. Later, reuniting with those he had abandoned, he offered to lead them and made himself their king. But it all came to a sudden and tragic end when Christophe, after 9 years of his rule as King Henry I, shot himself in the heart, some say with a silver bullet. Drawing from a trove of previously overlooked sources to paint a captivating history of his life and the awe-inspiring kingdom he built, Marlene L. Dott offers a fresh perspective on a figure long overshadowed by caricature and cliché. Peeling back the layers of myth and misconception reveals a man driven by both noble ideals and profound flaws, as unforgettable as he was enigmatic. More than just biography, The First and Last King of Haiti is a masterful exploration of power, ambition, and the human spirit. From his pivotal role in the Haitian Revolution to his coronation as king and eventual demise, this book is a testament to the enduring allure of those who dared to defy the odds and shape the course of nations. Also coming in January, we have Glory 2 by Nikki Grimes. In a marriage of poetry, faith, and worship, Miss Grimes's poems illuminate the scriptures that grace every Sunday of the year. Her inimitable voice and imagination offer glimpses of glory we might not otherwise see throughout the seasons of the year. With lyrical precision and spiritual insight, she invites readers on a journey of reflection, weaving together themes of grace, redemption, and the enduring power of God's love throughout the year. As the companion volume to her previous book, Glory in the Margins, Sunday Poems, this book resonates with authenticity and depth, giving testimony to the transformative power of poetry. And from David Levering Lewis, we have The Stained Glass Window. Sitting beneath a stained glass window dedicated to his grandmother in the Atlanta church where his family had prayed for generations, preeminent American historian David Levering Lewis was struck by the great lacunae in what he could know about his own ancestors. He vowed to excavate their past and tell their story. There is no singular American story, yet the Lewis family contains many defining ones. David Levering Lewis's lineage leads him to the Kings and the Belvinses, two white slaveholding families in Georgia, to the Bells, a free person of color slaveholding family in South Carolina, and to the Lewises, an up from slavery black family in Georgia. Lewis's father, John Henry Lewis Sr., set Lewis on the path he pursues, introducing him to W.E.B. Du Bois and living by example as Thurgood Marshall's collaborator in a key civil rights case in Little Rock. In The Stained Glass Window, Lewis reckons with his legacy in full, facing his ancestors and all that was lost, all the doors that were closed to them. In this country, the bonds of kinship and the horrific fetters of slavery are bound up together. The fight for equity, the loud echoes of the antebellum period in our present, and narratives of exceptionalism are ever with us. In these pages, so too, are the voices of Clarissa, Isaac, Hattie, Alice, and John. They shape this nation, and their heir, David Levering Lewis's chronicle of the antebellum project and the subsequent era of marginalization and resistance, will transform our understanding of it. And from Tara Roberts, we have Written in the Waters. When Tara Roberts first caught sight of a photograph at the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History depicting the scuba and underwater archaeology group diving with a purpose, it called out to her. Here were Black women and men strapping on masks, fins, and tanks to explore Atlantic Ocean waters along the coastlines of Africa, North America, and Central America, seeking the wrecks of slave ships long lost in time. Inspired, Roberts joined them and started on a path of discovery more challenging and personal than she could have ever imagined. In this lush and lyrical memoir, she tells a story of exploration and reckoning that takes her from her home in Washington, D.C., to an exotic array of locales: Thailand and Sri Lanka, Mozambique, South Africa, Senegal, Benin, Costa Rica, and St. Croix. The journey connects her with other divers, scholars, and archaeologists, offering a unique way of understanding the 12.5 million souls carried away from their African homeland to enslavement on other continents. But for Roberts, the journey is also intensely personal. Inspired by the descendants of those who lost their lives during the Middle Passage, she decides to plumb her own family history and her life as a Black woman to help make sense of her own identity. Complex and unflinchingly authentic, this deeply moving narrative heralds an important new voice in literature that will open minds and hearts everywhere. And coming in February, we have a short history of Black crafts and 10 objects. 10 beautifully illustrated essays tell the story of handcrafted objects and their makers, providing inspiration and insight into Black history and craftsmanship. Black artisans have long been central to American art and design, creating innovative and highly desired work against immense odds. Atlanta-based chairmaker and scholar Robel Awake explores the stories behind 10 cornerstones of Black craft, including the celebrated wooden chairs of Richard Poynter, an enslaved craftsman who began a dynasty of Tennessee chairmakers, the elegant wrought iron gates of Philip Simmons, seen to this day throughout Charleston, South Carolina, whose work features motifs from the Low Country, the inventive assemblage, art, and yard shows of Joe Minter, James Hampton, Bessie Harvey, and others, who draw on African spiritual traditions to create large-scale improvisational art installations. From the enslaved potters of Old Edgefield, South Carolina, to Anne Lowe, the couture dressmaker who made Jacqueline Kennedy's wedding dress, to Gullah Geechee's sweetgrass basket makers, to the celebrated quilters of Gee's Bend, a short history of Black craft and 10 objects illuminates the work of generations of Black craftspeople, foregrounding their enduring contributions to American craft. Also coming in February, we have I Felt the Cheers by Curtis Pride. On a September night in Montreal in 1993, Curtis Pride got his first major league hit, prompting a long, emotional standing ovation from the crowd of more than 45,000 fans. Profoundly deaf since birth, Pride couldn't hear their thunderous applause. But as the cheers grew louder and more insistent, he realized he was feeling those vibrations within his chest, an undeniable acknowledgement of an extraordinary achievement. Pride went on to play in 420 more major league games over 11 different seasons with the Montreal Expos, Detroit Tigers, Atlanta Braves, Boston Red Sox, Los Angeles Angels, and New York Yankees. He was then hired as head baseball coach at Gallaudet, the world's leading university for deaf and hard of hearing students, and was also named Major League Baseball's ambassador for inclusion. Pride has received countless national and local awards for his achievements and his service in inspiring and educating others. With candor, warmth, and humor, Pride writes from the heart. From the first time he played t-ball at age 6 and got a couple of hits, he dreamed of playing in the major leagues. No matter how unlikely it seemed or how much skepticism he faced with teammates or coaches, Pride stayed resolute. He came to see that his deafness could sometimes be a secret weapon, forcing him to use senses that other players take for granted. Curtis's personal journey is unique, but his message is a powerful, universal one, sure to resonate deeply with everyone who has faced difficult challenges. I felt the cheers is living proof that dreams can come true, no matter how impossible they seem. And next we have a book about Harriet Tubman. One of the authors, Rita Daniels, is actually her great grandniece, and I think this is the first book that's included one of her family members. So for all Harriet Tubman's accomplishments and the myriad books written about her, many gaps, errors, and misconceptions of her legendary life persist. One such fallacy is that Sarah H. Bradford is to blame for omitted information in the book Harriet Tubman, The Moses of Her People, and that she ended her second book too soon. But according to the Tubman family, it was Harriet's physical disability, the result of a head injury she incurred as a child, that left her unable to complete the necessary lengthy interview process with Sarah and properly flesh out the work. Harriet Tubman, military scout and tenacious visionary, sets out to rectify these omissions and many others. As recognition and tributes to Tubman's remarkable contributions to American history and civil liberty continue to grow, the time is right for a new biography with her and the involvement of her family, who have been the caretakers and stewards of her legacy for generations. Just who is this remarkable woman? We might know the outlines of her story, but the deep research of Jean-Marie Wiesen and the rich family memory of Rita Daniels combined to form a nuanced and vibrant portrait of a historic figure we all thought we knew. Uncovering Harriet's ancestral roots in Ghana and exploring her time on the Underground Railroad as a military scout, suffragette, and more, this book is an inspiring and illuminating narrative about a key figure in our history. And last, we have this cookbook called Gersha by Gigi Barhani. In Gersha, which loosely translates as the act of feeding one another, chef and restaurateur Gigi Barhani shares the food and culture of Beta Israel or Ethiopian Jews. Born in Ethiopia, Barhani fled to Sudan before making her way to Israel and eventually Harlem. In Gersha, she tells that story through food, bringing together more than 100 personal recipes, from traditional dishes to those of her own creation. Alongside the recipes, readers will also find essays on Beta Israel culture and traditions, profiles of the author's friends and family members that illuminate the Ethiopian Jewish community, and more. While smaller in number and not as widely known as many other groups of Jews, the Beta Israel boasts one of the world's great culinary cultures, and Gersha is the first major cookbook to share it with home cooks everywhere. I have a few more books for you that I couldn't get to today, so definitely check these out. Some of them we already have, some of them are coming out in January. Highly recommend Scattered Snows to the North, and if you have a chance to look up Carl Phillips on YouTube, there are some recordings of him reading his poetry, and he's really lovely. Okay, so to enter our drawing, email me with the next book on your reading list by a Black author or creator. And it doesn't have to be one of the books we highlighted today. It could be something that's already on your list. And we will put you into a drawing for a $25 gift card to Black Pearl Bookstore in Austin. And thank you to the Friends of the Library for sponsoring this contest. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in March for our Spring Book Buzz. Bye.